For over 100,000 years, the Aurelian ascendancy ruled the galaxy. They did not call themselves emperors. They did not call themselves kings. They called themselves gods. Their bodies were tall, radiant, engineered to perfection through generations of genetic refinement. Their technology bordered on the miraculous, matter manipulation, localized reality shaping, weapons that could snuff out stars with mathematical precision. They had uplifted species. They had erased species. They had rewritten history and installed themselves as its inevitable conclusion, and no one challenged them, because no one ever survived long enough to try. When humanity first appeared on the galactic stage, the ascendancy barely noticed. A noisy, divided species from a volatile deathworld. Short-lived, emotion-driven, violent even among themselves. Their ships were crude, their technology inefficient, their governments chaotic. Humanity was categorized as transitional life form, non-threatening. The gods turned their attention elsewhere. That was their first mistake. Human expansion was slow, deliberate, and stubborn. They settled planets no one else wanted. They traded instead of conquered. They avoided galactic politics whenever possible. And when the Ascendance's lesser vassals demanded tribute, humanity paid, but grudgingly, temporarily, and while quietly taking notes. Humans learned. They always did. The first real conflict came over a mining system on the galactic fringe. The Ascendancy claimed the system by divine right, citing ancient stellar charters older than human civilization. Humanity countered with treaties, contracts, and decades of documented habitation. The gods did not debate. They issued a decree. Withdraw. The Ascendant Herald commanded. You occupy holy space. Defiance is sacrilege. Human diplomats asked for arbitration. They were ignored. Then the Ascendancy erased the colony. No fleet. No warning. A focused stellar pulse reduced the planet to debris in less than a second. 2 billion humans died. The gods expected submission. What they received confused them. Humanity did not beg. They did not threaten. They went silent. For 3 months, there was no response from Earth. No diplomatic protests. No fleet movements. The Ascendancy interpreted this as acceptance. They celebrated. They called it divine correction. They were wrong. When humanity finally spoke, it wasn't with words. It was with action. Across Ascendancy-controlled space, ancient infrastructure began to fail. Not catastrophically, strategically. Energy nexuses destabilized. Faster-than-light corridors collapsed. Automated defenses misidentified friendly ships as threats. The gods were irritated, not alarmed. At first, then Ascendancy fleets began disappearing. Not destroyed, vanished. The Ascendancy summoned humanity's representatives. A final audience, they declared, a chance to repent. Humanity sent no diplomats. They sent a historian. Dr. Eliza Mora stood alone before the Ascendant Council, a single human surrounded by beings worshipped as gods. You destroyed one of our worlds, she said calmly. You killed billions. The Ascendants radiated amusement. You existed by our tolerance, one replied. Power defines truth. Mora nodded. That's what we thought you'd say. The historian activated projection. Human history flooded the chamber. Wars, extinctions, plagues, near annihilations. Humanity had faced God before, on their own world. They had called them emperors, kings, tyrants, ideologies. And every time they fell. You think power is immortality, Mora continued. You think it's perfection, control, fear. She looked up at them. Power is survival. That was when the Ascendancy felt it, for the first time in their long existence. Fear. Across their empire, stars flickered. Humanity had found something the gods never considered worth studying. Failure modes. The Ascendance's technology was flawless until disrupted. Their systems were centralized because nothing had ever threatened them. Their fleets were optimized for dominance, not adaptability. Humans exploited every weakness. Human ships emerged from impossible vectors, using unstable hyperspace routes the gods deemed too dangerous. Human weapons didn't pierce shields. They overloaded assumptions. Rail cannons fired debris at relativistic speeds. Viruses infected reality manipulation matrices. Captured ascendancy tech was dismantled, repurposed, and redeployed within weeks. The gods adapted slowly. Humans adapted during combat. The first god died above the shattered remains of the human colony. An ascendant warform, once worshipped, was torn apart by human boarding teams using nothing but kinetic weapons and coordinated chaos. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Gods could bleed. Gods could die. The Ascendancy retaliated. They burned 3 human systems. Humanity responded by collapsing a star corridor that powered half the Ascendance's empire. The gods demanded surrender. Humanity answered with a broadcast. "We do not worship power," the human commander said. "We survive it." The turning point came at the Throne of Light. The Ascendance's capital system, protected by layers of reality-warping defenses, had never been breached. Humanity didn't breach it. They isolated it. Human engineers disrupted the space-time lattice feeding the throne, severing it from its divine energy source. Ascendants found themselves mortal, a concept they had never prepared for. Human fleets arrived. What followed was not conquest. It was revelation. The Ascendancy surrendered, not because they were defeated, but because they understood something too late. Power that never struggles becomes brittle. Power that never adapts dies. The terms were simple. The Ascendancy would relinquish divine status. Their technology would be decentralized. No species would ever again be ruled by self-proclaimed gods. They agreed. They had no choice. Years later, a young alien asked a human veteran, "How did you defeat gods?" The human smiled faintly. "We didn't," they said. "We reminded them." Of what? That power isn't about being untouchable. The human looked at the stars. It's about getting back up, no matter how many times the universe tries to kill you. And across the galaxy, the gods were remembered not for their divinity, but for the moment humans showed them what power really was.